Let's take a look at the application we're going to build. We'll click on the Knowledgebase link and we'll upload this Knowledgebase file for a fictional hotel. So we'll select that PDF file. We'll click the Upload Knowledgebase Content button, and the content will be uploaded and it will show. We'll then switch over to the Home button, and then we're going to upload this request for proposals to that fictional hotel that contains questions that we would want answered using the content in the knowledge base. So we'll select that file and click the Process RFP button. The document will be uploaded, OCR'd. The questions will be detected. Embeddings will be created using retrieval augmented generation. And then we will see that the user interface will be updated to show the questions that have been identified and the answers that have been created using AI from the content in the knowledge base. So the user will then review these answers, and we're actually going to update the answer for the pricing here. We'll make this a little bit wider, and we're going to update the pricing on one of the answers. And then the final step is to create the final RFP response. So we'll scroll down to the bottom and click the Create RFP Response button, which will create a Word document. The document contains an executive summary as well as all the questions and all the answers. First, let's start with the background on the technologies covered. Retrieval augmented generation. Retrieval augmented generation describes the process where a user enters a prompt, a search is performed, grounding from that search is passed on to the LLM, and then it provides a response. Let's look at embeddings. For example, if we enter coffee, milk, hot water, chocolate, tea, chai, car, and tires, and we create embeddings, what happens is that in this case 1,536 floats will be created for the word coffee. If we look at those values, looking at the first 15 of them, we see that they are a series of numbers. This represents the embeddings for coffee. If we then compare, for example, latte to milk, coffee, tea, chocolate, tire, hot water, chai, car, we see that latte and milk have a closer relationship than latte and coffee, as well as latte and car. For example, if we get the embedding for pulling into a parking space, we see that it has a semantic match closer with car and tire than it does with coffee, tea, chai, milk, hot water, and chocolate. So this is how the search is done to find words and sentences that have a semantic correlation. A search is performed using embeddings, and the results of that search are then passed as grounding back to the AI along with the question to produce the results. Let's look at the application. First, let's look at the requirements. .NET 9, Blazor, and Aspire is used in this example. We're also going to be using Visual Studio Code, which contains Copilot. You can get a free Copilot account, and we'll show you how in the future slides, as well as large language model access, which again is provided through Copilot. We're going to first create the Blazor application. We're going to use Visual Studio Code. We're going to download Visual Studio Code. We'll click on the icon. We'll then click the Extensions button and we'll search for C#. We'll locate the C# dev kit and we'll install it. In this case, we're going to install the pre-release version. We'll then select File and then New File, and then we'll select New Project. We'll select the .NET Aspire host app, and we'll create a folder called Aspire Vibe Coding VS Code and select it. We're going to call our project Aspire Vibe Coding VS Code. We're going to select the SLN file format type. We're then going to select Show All Template Options, and we're going to create the project. We're going to select Yes, we trust the author, because the author is us. And then in Visual Studio Code, we're going to open up the Solution Explorer, and we're going to select New Project, and we're going to select Blazor Web App as the project, and we're going to give the name of the Blazor Web App project Blazor Web App. We're going to select Default Directory, and we're going to say Show All Template Options. We're going to choose the options that you see there on the screen and click Create Project. Now we need to attach the Blazor project to the Aspire framework. So we'll click on the Aspire Vibe Coding VS Code Aspire project and select Add Project Reference. And we'll select the Blazor Web App. And then finally, we'll open up the apphost.cs file in the Aspire framework, and we'll add the line builder.addProject projects.blazor web app, and the alias will be Blazor Web App. And that's all it's required for the setup. At this point, we will debug and run the project. We'll click the debug button and then select C#. We'll then select Launch the Startup Project. We'll then select the Aspire Vibe Coding VS Code project. And then the Aspire framework will open up in the web browser, and then it will automatically launch the Blazor Web App. Now we're ready to use vibe coding to create the application. But first, let's look at some vibe coding principles. Prompt length, specificity, and practical examples. Basically, you have a choice of having short prompts or long prompts. Long prompts are recommended for better vibe coding. Also, the prompts that you create, you want to make sure that you provide good context. Also, indicate the requirements that you want the AI to perform. Also, add anything that's important about the style. For example, if you're making a game versus a business program. Very important to always provide examples. So you'll see in the prompts that we will show moving forward that in some cases I point to documentation. I'll put the URL of documentation. I'll even indicate in some cases that this page should be coded like this other page. So providing examples helps a lot. Let's look at the setup and tools. In Visual Studio Code, in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see the little GitHub icon. When you click that icon, if Copilot is not set up, a button will show up that says Set up Copilot. You'll click on that button and go through the wizard to set up Copilot. Next, if we click on the Aspire Vibe Coding code project and we select New Folder, we can then create a new folder called .github, and then we'll click on that and select New File, and we'll create a file called copilot-instructions.md. It has to have this exact name. Inside this file, we'll place any commands that we want passed on to the Copilot for every prompt that we create. In this case, I'm instructing it that I wanted to not change my Blazor project from Blazor 9. I also wanted to use the virtual file system in WebAssembly, and I even pointed to a blog post that I wrote that explains how that's used. I add this because I found in the past that the AI, not knowing about the virtual file system in WebAssembly, will sometimes create code that doesn't use it or will take code out. Also, in this example, we'll be using Radzen for the UI controls. So to keep it on track and using the proper version of Radzen, I even have the URL that points to the documentation for Radzen. Also, you'll want to go to chat.agent.enabled in the settings and make sure that everything is enabled. For example, the agent and the Copilot chat. Okay, now we're ready to create our first prompt, and we'll open up the chat prompt window. Notice at the bottom left-hand corner there that we are in the agent mode. There's other mode like ask mode, but for this example, we'll be using the agent mode. So make sure that agent mode is selected there. We're also using the model Claude Sonnet. However, GPT-5 also works well. The prompt is pasted in that box that you see there in the center. And to submit a prompt, in the bottom right-hand corner, that little button there, that's the button that you click to actually submit a prompt. Let's first look at the first prompt here. So this first prompt is, you'll see that the instructions are trying to be very explicit. It even points to the Radzen documentation getting started, because this prompt is instructing the AI to alter the counter page to change the buttons, the existing button, to use Radzen buttons and use Radzen theming. We'll paste that in, we'll hit that button, and this is the response we get. We see that the AI will start working on the page and writing code. At various times, the AI will ask for permission. To reduce these steps, I usually choose always allow. When the AI is finished coding, you click the keep button to keep the code changes. And then when we debug the application, we now see that it followed our directions. So let's now implement that knowledge base feature that we covered before. However, before we do this, we'll click the new chat session button. That's the little plus button that's in the chat window. Every time we start a new feature, we want to start a new chat session. The reason why is that there is a context window that has limited size, and you don't want the AI to be in the middle of coding and then run out of space in its context window. So therefore, we're always going to click this new chat button before each feature. So we'll go ahead and click that button, and we will then paste in our next prompt. Let's take a look at this prompt. Again, this prompt is very detailed, and what I do is I use AI to actually help me optimize my prompts. So I'll write the prompt out, and then I'll actually paste it into somewhere like ChatGPT, and I will say, I am trying to write a prompt for AI coding. Can you please, help update this prompt? So we'll paste the prompt in, and the AI will work on the code, and when it's done, we'll click the keep button. In this example, we actually have told the AI to update the app settings.json file to allow us to specify our key for OpenAI API calls. So we see that that was actually done, so I'll update my OpenAI key. When I run the app, I see that the knowledge base page was created, however, the icon's missing. So I'll go ahead and stop it, and then I will indicate that the knowledge base link doesn't have an icon. In this case, the prompt is short because I only want it to work on this one thing. After it finishes the code, I click the keep button, And when I run it again, I see that the knowledge base icon is there. However, when I click the choose button to upload the knowledge base content, nothing happens. So again, I'll stop it. I will go and put in a prompt that says when I click the choose button and select a file, nothing happens. So notice I'm being very explicit about what happened and what the issue is. So it'll write the code. I'll click the keep button. And the next thing that happened was I can choose a file, upload it, but then nothing changed on the screen. So I come back and I indicate that a file can now be uploaded, but no notifications appear. Again, it'll do its coding. Now when I run it, I see this error message. So what I'll do is I will copy the entire error message. I will go back to the chat window. I will paste it in the chat window box that I get this error, and I indicate the exact error that I get. It will realize its mistake, and it'll create the code. Now when I run it, I see that I can upload a knowledge base file, and it shows. Okay, so now we're ready to move on to the next feature. However, I do want to show that what happens in the application is that the embeddings for the uploaded knowledge base actually show up. And if you go into F12 and you look at the dev tools, you can actually see those embeddings. Now let's look at the next feature, which is the RFP response. This is the prompt that I use for the RFP response, following the same patterns that I showed before. I'll paste it in. It'll do the coding. I'll click the keep button. When I run it, I just get a build error. This will happen frequently. I'll look and see what the error is. However, I'm going to show you my favorite prompt, which is please fix build errors. So this usually works well. If you get a build error, just say please fix build errors. It'll then determine what the build errors are, and it'll fix them. Now when I run it, the page shows up fine. However, when I click that choose file to upload a file, just like the other page, it doesn't work. In this case, in the chat window, I will indicate that the upload button does not work. I'll indicate the page that I'm talking about here because now we have a number of pages and I don't want it to be confused. But notice how I tell it to refer to the other knowledge base upload Razor page, and I indicate that's where it should figure out how to make the upload work. And of course it's able to fix it, and the upload then does work. The questions and answers show up as normal. However, notice that the UI, especially on the right hand side, is kind of weird. There's this extra column, actions column. I don't know why that's there. I'll fix that up later. Let's first handle the final output, the Word document. Again, I have a prompt, but notice I'm being very specific here. I'm being specific about the NuGet package I want used to create the Word document, even the version number. It'll, of course, write it as code. And when it runs, again, I see an error. I just copy that error. I say, this is the error I'm getting, please fix it. And it fixes it. So now I have a working application. This kind of shows an overview of the application. The yellow boxes are the main pages. The green boxes there are services that it created, and the other boxes kind of show how there's other elements and services, and it shows how everything is interconnected. However, we need to fix some things up here. For example, there's that weird thing with the two columns on the right-hand side, including this action column on the very right side that I don't know why it's there. So I'll just indicate, please fix these issues, and they're fixed. Also, on the Word document, when I create the RFP response, I see that the formatting is really, well, weird, and it did a weird thing where it has a confidence score in the answers, which of course is inappropriate. So again, I will go into the chat window, indicate to please fix these issues, and they're fixed. All the code is available on my website, blazerhelpwebsite.com. Thanks for watching.